Welcome back, America. A lot of extraordinary developments across the world every day in the Trump presidency. Today, no different. Israel, just a short while ago, announcing it is dropping all tariffs against the United States. Another win for President Trump's tariff policies. There's a lot else going on in Congress. We thought we'd turn to one of the freshest and newest voices in Congress. He's already making a huge impact there. Congressman Riley Moore from the great state of West Virginia. Congressman, good to have you on the show.
Hey, John, Amanda, thanks so much for having me on.
Great honor. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. I want to start with the announcement today with Israel. Every day we're seeing these tariffs beginning to return more investments back to the American people, whether it's companies returning jobs and plants back to America or tariffs dropping. Your thoughts on what happened today?
Well, the president has been executing this really flawlessly, and we just saw this with Israel, which certainly, look, Israel is one of our strongest allies. We all know that, but we do have to rebalance trade here in the world. We run trade deficits with literally every country on the face of the planet. And the president is trying to rebalance that and actually, for once, put the American worker first. And that's what he has promised. That's what he ran on. And this is just another example of him executing on his campaign promises and actually delivering, which is unfortunately in short supply today in the political environment we live in.
Congressman, the unfortunate reality of tariffs is that Americans pay for it. They will experience a little bit of a surge in a lot of goods that they purchase, but a lot of businesses will be repatriated back to the United States. But what is it, $5 trillion worth of investment we're up to now? However, that $5 trillion investment does help on the back end. So while Americans feel like they're paying a little bit more at the grocery store, explain to our audience how that $5 trillion investment back into the country helps them economically.
Well, there's a couple ways that helps. One thing to think about and to keep in mind is that wages in this country have been stagnant for decades. And why has it been stagnant? It's because we've been exporting all of our good manufacturing jobs overseas. So the middle class has continued to contract and collapse over those decades. And Americans have seen their buying power relative to inflation just dwindle and become smaller and smaller. So with greater buying power in the economy, every American is essentially getting a raise as these new jobs start to come back. Now, secondarily to that is that in these tariffs where we're reciprocal tariffs, the point here is for them to bring their tariffs down as we have ratcheted up, then we're all going to start to bring them down and create more free but also fair trade for the United States. So that's going to spur the economy and the manufacturing base here in the United States, as we're now going to have more access to international markets all over the country instead of it just being a one-way street, which it has been for so long.
Essentially restoring fair and free trade by using the tariffs to get there. It's remarkable. I think Treasury Secretary Bessent coined the term the dirty 15%. Donald Trump is really focusing on those who have a great relationship with us, but then punish us on the back end in their country. That seems pretty targeted and strategic, isn't it?
It is. And look, one way to think about this, and we've heard people say, oh, this is going to spark a trade war. Well, the American workers been living in a trade war for over 40 years, and they've seen their jobs be decimated. Like in my state of West Virginia, where just last year, because the Biden administration would not implement tariffs on tin plate steel that was being dumped into the market by China and Canada and some other countries, we lost 1,000 jobs in my district, gone. And we had to idle that steel plant. That's not putting the American worker first, is not putting America first. So President Trump is the first person in my lifetime who is really trying to reset this table and put us in a good position to be able to succeed here as a country. We have to do everything we can to grow and expand the middle class and provide that opportunity that had been promised to so many generations before us.
Sir, I want to shift gears to something that you introduced regarding visas for CCP visas. I love the name. Tell us about it.
Yes, well, a shocking number for your audience to think about is the amount of Chinese nationals that are in our country on student visas. 300,000 Chinese nationals are here right now in the United States on student visas. And what we have found is that there are a number of cases, and I'm sure it happens all the time and we don't even catch them, but where we've seen these students who are on these visas spying on the United States. Just here recently, we had 5 students that were spying on a joint exercise in between the U.S. military and the Taiwanese, live fire exercise that they were spying up there in Michigan and the Great Lakes. We've had individuals who've been arrested stealing U.S. technology at our research institute. We also had an individual who was on a visa from China, who was the leader of the pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas movement at UCLA, at one of our universities, so also destabilizing our campuses here in the United States. What this bill does is says no more. We're not doing this anymore. We're stopping all visas for Chinese nationals here in the United States. And something else to keep in mind, there's only a few hundred Americans who are studying in China currently. So there's another imbalance for you. And we're just getting taken advantage of across the board. So why would we open ourselves up to this? I don't remember us having 300,000 Soviets studying here during the Cold War. China is our near peer threat in the world, and we need to act like that.
Yeah, so important. You hail from one of the most naturally beautiful states in America, but also one of its most naturally endowed. So many great resources and energy resources there. The EPA has consistently, since Lee Zeldin took over in early February, rolling back regulations that were suffocating America's ability to power its future, particularly a future that's going to rely heavily on AI. Tell us a little bit about what you're seeing at EPA and what it may mean not only for your state, but for all energy consumers in America.
Well, what Administrator Zeldin is doing is great news for everybody in the United States and frankly, the world. I mean, what I want to see is the U.S. is not just a country that is energy independent, but an energy superpower. And what I mean by that, a net exporter of energy. So we're able to leverage our position around the world with our energy resources, not always just using our military to protect our interests and equities abroad, but also using our energy resources to do the same thing, and then also helping our allies with those resources around the globe. And look, this is going to unleash the American economy. State of West Virginia, we have over 1,000 years of natural gas reserves just below our feet. The problem is that prior to Lee Zeldin taking over in the Biden administration, the EPA was really treated like a terrorist organization in my state that we've been fighting against every time a Democrat gets in the White House, which has been crushing our jobs and our economy. And we've not been able to get those natural resources out and be able to power this economy here in the United States and reap those tax benefits that we get from the minerals and gas, which is extracted. So Lee Zeldin is doing a wonderful job. He's doing a tremendous job. I was just over at the EPA with him just last month, and I look forward to working with him in the future.
Congressman, before we let you go, the business of the House, which includes President Trump's agenda, is on ice until after Easter. How can Republicans still keep up the progress so when they get back, they can hit the ground running?
Well, I know the Speaker of the House is going to kind of reconfigure how we're going to do things next week. He spoke about that a little bit. I think you're going to see a rule likely attached to a budget bill. And we're going to see, do we want to move forward on the president's agenda or do we not? And I think that's going to be the question that's going to be put before the body. And obviously, I'm in support of the president's agenda, and we just need to go ahead and move forward on that.
Common sense all around. Sir, what a great honor it is to have you on the show. You're doing such great work. I know you've only been here a few months, but you're already making a great mark in the town. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thanks so much. God bless.